I heard someone say once that our lives are mostly shaped by a few single events. That Martin 12 string, for example, was won in a poker game. Events that may only have just a moment in our lives, but have a lasting impact. My story of who I am outside the walls of Fidelity began right here in my home, trying to raise daughters with a learning disability. My oldest daughter, we did everything the teachers and school administrators asked of us. We religiously went to parent-teachers conferences and followed their advice on how the best ways we could help our daughter. My oldest, her inabilities to succeed academically ate away at her self-esteem, ate away at her self-confidence and her self-worth, to the point to where she tried to take her own life. By this time she was a senior in high school, and I had failed as a father by trying to give her the academic experience that she really needed. When her younger sister started to show the same symptoms, I was an angry dad, and I knew I needed to act. And I knew at that point that since the school system had failed me, I was going to have to look for outside sources. So I took her to a psychologist to get a professional evaluation. Paid for it out of pocket as it was not covered by insurance. And I got the results back. She had what's called dyscalculia, which is a word I had never heard before. It is to numbers what letters is to someone with dyslexia. The brain doesn't process numbers the same way. Even though at age 14 she could read at a college level, her reading and comprehension was very high. She could not do math. She could not even count change or read an analog clock. So I was looking for answers. So I went back to the school and armed with this information, with this diagnosis, thinking that they would help me. And I didn't get the help that I needed. I was told that she was fine and she didn't need any special accommodations. But I knew that she wasn't fine, and I knew that she did. And I knew I was going to have a fight on my hands. And so I looked around for an attorney. I could not find one, at least not one that I could afford. So I knew I could not give up, even though I was told by pushing this issue I had about a 1% chance of success. But 1% was good enough for me. So about that same time, as luck would have it, I was hanging Christmas lights way up there on the top of my roof, and I fell all the way down. The driveway caught my fall, but I broke my back, I shattered my arms. I was in bed for a very long time. I could not move. Doctors told me I may not ever walk again. But I used that time to study, and I studied a lot. I learned everything I could about special education and about what my daughter needed to succeed in school. So here I was David. Back there, that was Goliath. Jordan School District, one of the largest school districts in Utah, with a budget of over $500 million per year, and access to legal counsel that I couldn't even dream of affording. So I had to become an expert on special education law, and I had to do it pretty quick, because I was going to be facing their attorneys representing myself. I had to get to know just about everything I could. I spent nights staying up all night long reading Supreme Court rulings and case studies and everything I could about the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And I found a few chinks in their armor that I could exploit. Little did I know it at the time, but after I finished this process and I won and I got everything I asked for, I was the only one in the country that had ever pulled that off without the help of an attorney. I soon became a celebrity, if you will, in special education chat boards, and people started to reach out to me. My phones began to ring a lot.
One of those calls came from a Dr. Gary Thompson. Dr. Thompson owned a chain of child psychology clinics that helped kids like this with learning disabilities to overcome them. He told me he had a lot of parents in my same situation that needed the same kind of help and asked if I would help them and that he would pay me for it. I told him that I already had a job, I really liked my job, and I didn't need another job. But I said, tell you what, give me the name, send them my way, give them my email address, my phone number, and I'll do what I can to help them. And I ended up helping a lot of people. I had kids in California, Florida, Indiana, Maryland, Kansas, Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, and I helped these kids get the accommodations and the help that they needed. And I did that for about 3 years. But Dr. Thompson kept bugging me to come work for him. I was worried it would conflict with my job at Fidelity, so I sat down with my boss and we discussed it, and we decided that it wouldn't. So I took on the job, and I got hired as Chief of Operations for Early Life Child Psychology. I'll take you there and let's have a look. So here it is, where I work when I'm not at work. Early Life Child Psychology. Alright, so here's where I spend a lot of my time outside of Fidelity. My trusty cameraman there, Austin. Here, turn the cameraman, show your face. There you go. Alright. He is my assistant and also our new Director of Education. And here, let me show you what we do here. Alright, this is Andy. She's our front office manager. And soon she'll be running the whole place, even though actually she already kind of does. The clinicians just don't know it yet. But what we do here is it's a child psychology clinic, and we bring kids in here and they have a formal assessment with a psychologist, and then we refer them to our cognitive tutoring program. And Andy is also one of our best tutors. What we do is the tutors get a complete assessment of the child's psychological profile, and then the tutor is trained to teach that child to their learning disability, learning quirk, whatever it is, whether it be dyscalculia, dyslexia, dysgraphia, if they have ADHD. We teach them coping mechanisms to deal with these things so when they go back into school, they'll have a better chance of academic success. So there you have it. Most of you know me as a 25-year Philly veteran, one of 2 guys in this room that's ever sold a FFLI contract. But by day after I go home, I'm a Chief of Operations of a child psychology clinic with clinics in Utah and California. I spend my nights and weekends helping kids with all kinds of different learning disabilities. And in this process and in this opportunity, I've been able to see some pretty cool things. I've seen kids with schizophrenia graduate high school with honors. I saw my own daughter overcome an extreme learning disability with dyscalculia. I even helped an 11-year-old kid get into college. So it's been quite a ride. But outside of the doors of Fidelity, that's who I am. That's what I do. Thanks for listening.